Peace and blessings, family. I've come once again to bring another edition of Spiritual Food for Thought. I pray all is well, family, with your relationship with the Creator. Ultimately, family, that's the thing that we should be most concerned with. Because if we ain't got peace with our Creator, family, we in trouble. And it is what it is. Because, family, us being at peace with our Creator is a sign that we where we're supposed to be. All He ever wanted with each of us is a relationship with us. And for us to come to know ourselves and see ourselves through His eyes under the spirit of His divine love. Family, the thing is, we've been taught so many lies. And through the spirit of religion and man's self-righteousness and the spirit of his pride, it caused us to be deceived and brought to this place of darkness that we exist in right now. It causes us to be at a place where we're stuck in the process of our creation. Because as I said, family, in this realm of the permissive will of our Creator, is which the realm which He has to allow us to be caught up in this battle of good and evil, to experience the good and evil that ultimately we chose to know. As we listen to that other voice and not the voice of the Spirit. And we've been caught up in that same spirit ever since. And in our flesh, we continue to listen to that other voice. And we have this lust for the knowledge of good and evil. The same lust that our parents had, Adam and Chua, as that lust for the knowledge of good and evil was in them the whole time. And this is why they failed. And so the bottom line is, family, we've been stuck in this place ever since. But our Creator, in His graciousness, has made us a way for us to be redeemed from this. And it's for us to desire, to know, and to seek and search Him out and cry out to Him to bring us to that place, family, that we can receive the mind of the Spirit that makes us one with Him, that gives us His understanding, family, so that we can understand our place and our divine purpose and understand that us, ourselves, as the created beings that we are, that we was created to serve Him in His righteousness, in the oneness of His mind, to walk in the spirit of His divine love, family, that so that we can serve one another according to that love, because this is how we serve and bless our Creator. Because as He is the spirit of divine love, family, that's the very thing that makes us all one with Him, starting with becoming one with Him as our Creator. Thus ultimately make us one with each other, our fellow creatures, and Mother Earth, and who He brought us all forth from, such as the kingdom of heaven. But this is why we must be born again, because that's to receive the spirit of His mind that puts us all in our place and brings us to the place, family, where we're no longer distracted by the lies that we've been told, but we understand the reality through the spirit of His divine love, that we receive the fruits of the Spirit. And as I said, as we understand the reality, the final fruit of the Spirit is what? It's self-rule or self-control. Because He never meant for us to rule and control His creation. Because as our Creator, family, that's why He's the Creator, because only He has the right to rule His creation, because He created all things. And so He knows how all things tick. We don't. We don't even understand how and why we tick, which is the only thing He meant for us to understand, because as we understand this reality, family, and we have that self-control, then we understand that it wasn't His desire for us to rule the rest of creation. It's only meant for us to rule ourselves so that we can assist creation, so we can assist one another, and we can assist our fellow creatures. and nurture the earth, in which he created us to do in the first place. So in other words, we get to rule by serving. But under the spirit of pride and self-awareness, we'll never understand that. And we'll never get that. So in our flesh, we continue to live in a way that causes us to defy our Creator and ultimately leading to our own destruction and the very destruction of his creation. But this is why he has to intervene to stop this from happening. And so as he continues to enlighten us with the spirit of his divine truth, family, it's going to put us in our place. And thus, he's going to deliver his creation. Because as he make us right, then all things is going to be right. Because who's going to be squashed in the midst of that process? The old cloven-foot sucker that's got us all deceived and in darkness, even to the point that we don't understand the reality, but that sucker ain't nothing but our dark side and the spirit of our flesh that causes us to deify ourselves and our own desires for pleasure above the perfect will of our Creator. It's really that simple. So this is why we must be born again, that we could receive the mind of our Creator so that we can understand the things we need to put a stop to this. Because ultimately, family, as the Father continues to put us in our place and give us the understanding that we need, we gonna manifest the kingdom of heaven on this earth and bring an end to that sucker's rule over us in this world. It's really that simple. You know, when we talk about the Son, you know, who we call the Messiah, and I continue to emphasize this, you know what I'm saying? The Messiah is the spirit of Christ that was in the Son. The Son was an example of what and who we are. He came to be an example. You know, we talk about how he came into to take away the sins of the world. So as we look at the lies that we've been taught about how his shed blood came to take away the sin, he shed his blood to take away the sins of the world. Well, if that's true, family, how come the world's in the darkness that it's in? Because it's freaking got worse. Because it wasn't his shed blood that take away the sins of the world, but it's the understanding of the Spirit. As we renewed by the Spirit of our Creator under the Spirit of his divine love that causes us to love ourselves with his divine love, thus it'll cause us to love our brothers and our sisters with the spirit of the divine love. So guess what? As we all under the spirit of the divine love of our Creator, guess what? What happens? Then we stop sinning against the Father and we stop sinning against each other. Because in reality, family, the ultimate sin against the Creator is sins against nature. And so in our flesh, we sin against nature. So we sin against our Creator. So then we sin against one another. So this is the lies that we need to be delivered from all the traditions and teachings of men and doctrines of the devil that continue to keep us from becoming accountable before our Creator. Because as long as we believe that somebody else paid the price for our sins, then we never become accountable. We never become fully accountable. Because and that's why we have no sense of urgency of repenting before our Creator. Because we believe that lie they told us that the Son paid the price. No, the Son came into this world to show us the heart of the Father as the Father spoke through him. And through the power of the Father's Spirit that lived in him, that's what empowered him to walk and do the things that he did. Because if the Son was the Father and all of these things that they taught us, then the Son wouldn't have had to go away. He could have just stayed in that form. And that would have straightened us out, right? So why did he say it's better that I go away? Because he said, if I don't go away, then the Spirit won't come. Because ultimately, it's the Spirit of my Father that's going to empower you to walk in the same way, even as I walk. And when that time comes, you're going to do greater works than I did. So when have we seen that happen, family? It's because that time never came. Because now it's the time of the kingdom to come forth. And as the time of the kingdom to come forth, yeah, because the reality is the Son couldn't possibly do all things. You know what I'm saying? Because the Son was not omnipresent. Who is omnipresent? The Spirit of the Father is omnipresent. And so the reality is, family, as he lives in all of us, guess what? Yeah, we do greater works than the Son did. Because now all of us is walking in the Spirit and bringing forth and manifesting the reality of the kingdom of heaven. So the bottom line is now, then as that time called for, it's just as the scripture says, the whole earth will be full of the knowledge of the Creator and the oneness of his love. So guess what? There won't be no more death and dying, because death is anything that cuts off the flow of life. And anything that goes in opposition to the divine will of the Creator is death. That's the world we live in. This very existence. Okay, so we got to be delivered from this, family. And the bottom line is, the only ones that are going to be delivered is the ones that want to be delivered. Because as we understand our dire straits that we in and how bad things really are, it's the Spirit of Christ is in us that brings us to the reality of how bad our place, the place that we're in right now in our dire straits. So it shows us the only way we're going to come into our deliverance, family, is to receive the Spirit of our Creator. Okay, so this is why I say, family, you got to seek the Creator for yourself. Because until you do, you'll never understand. You'll come in to understand your own divinity as a child of the Creator, so that you can serve your purpose and what he had in mind for you and how you serve him in spirit and truth. And ultimately understanding the reality, family, that all he ever meant for you to be is yourself, but with the understanding of his mind, so that you could serve him in spirit and in truth. As you're able to love yourself with the divine love of the Creator, that doesn't lift us up in pride, but it humbles us. As we understand his grace and his mercy and his goodness toward us to even create us is an expression of his love. But even now, at the time of revelation, as he's revealing these absolute truths and the keys of the kingdom that's given us to understand, family, that understanding that who we are, what our purpose is, and how we can serve him in spirit and in truth. Because that's the revelation that's coming forth. And as I said, without the keys of the kingdom, we can't even perceive what the kingdom is about. So we have to desire his divine truth and absolute truth to dispel the lies that we've been enslaved to in this world under the spirit of man's pride, okay? Under the spirit of religion that caused us to walk in ways to think that we understand the Creator and know his ways, and we don't. Because everything we've been told in this world is a lie. And until we start seeking and searching that reality and understand that reality, we'll never seek the Creator with our whole heart. So, with that said, family, before I get started, I want to make my disclaimer. I'm not no teacher. I'm not trying to tell you what to do or believe or none of these things, or even convince you of anything. Because ultimately, it's the Spirit of the Creator that convinces us of all things. And so, this is why I say the importance. You must seek the Most High for yourself, because if you don't, you ain't going to know yourself as the created being that you are, and going to be led to your own destruction. And when I say that, family, I'm speaking of myself too. This is the same for all of us. So we must know ourselves in him, and the only way we're going to know ourselves in him is to be born of his Spirit. The Spirit of Christ is in all of us who believe and understand. So with that said, what I want to talk about is sin against nature, the oneness of creation. Family, this is the ultimate sin against our Creator. Because as we sin against nature, we sin against our Creator. The Creator is nature, family. And so anything that cuts off the flow of life is sin against the creator. Because see, family, the creator is life. The creator brought forth life to express the beauty of everything that he is as our creator. This is why, as we understand as children of his, we begin to understand the oneness of his love. And the reality is, family, in this fallen condition, we can't see that. We don't see it and we can't see it. Because as we caught up in our own divinity as a created being, we can't possibly see these things. Family, when you really look at it like as the created being, in reality, family, we didn't even create ourselves. Basically, we was given an understanding. We came into this world. We was placed in an environment, and we didn't have no say-so about all this. None of this. Okay? And then we came to conclusions and chose to believe things that made sense to us, that made sense to our survival and all of these things. So we accepted things that caused us to even be comfortable with our condition, even though we didn't understand anything. You see what I'm saying? So we accepted the lies that we've been placed in the midst of and did the best we could with those lies to survive, to keep our sanity and all these things. And so we simply really sought after things that brought us pleasure, to cover up that void that was in us, because we really, in our flesh, are walking in ignorance, and we don't know the absolute truth on who we are, why we here, what we doing, things that's relevant to our relationship with our Creator. So we constantly lived in a world that kept us occupied and distracted with things that's of no eternal value, things of vanity, things that's passing away, and not understanding the reality, family, that we need to know our purpose. Because to live a life without purpose or reason is a hell in itself. Because as created beings, in reality, in order to really live and truly live, we must understand the things that we're dealing with. We must understand our purpose and why we're here and all of these things. And until we do that, this life continues to cause us to live in a way that constantly causes us to violate the laws of nature. Because, see, in our flesh, we don't understand that our Creator is nature. Okay? We came from nature. We're even right now, through nature, are still being created. Okay? But the bottom line is, because of the darkness of this world, because Hasatan has been given rule over this earth for a season, we lose sight of that. And so we're caught up in the spirit of Hasatan, or the devil, whatever you want to call him. We caught up in the same mind of his desire to rule things he didn't create. See, this world of darkness is his creation, but in reality, how is it his creation? It's all through manipulation, which is not true creation. So we in our flesh rule this world by the same principle, because man has learned to control his environment through manipulation. And what is manipulation? It's freaking lies. Period. Okay? That's how the devil got rulers. He lied to man. Man bought the lie, so man been subject to the lie. So man continues to rule and manipulate his environment by lies. Because in reality, family, the only one that has the right to rule his creation is our Creator, because he created creation. So only he can rule in spirit and in truth and according to his divine order. So the bottom line is the natural order of things. Okay? Because, see, truly, okay, as we talk about divinity, his divinity as our creator, okay, divinity means one. Divine means one. The oneness of his love that makes us all one with him, each other, our fellow creatures, and Mother Earth, and who he brought us all forth from. Okay? Such is the kingdom of heaven. Not a natural order of things, which is his true nature. That's what holiness is. It's the natural order of things, where all things that our Creator has created to glorify himself operate in the natural order that he meant for them to operate. Therefore, you got perfect harmony and order and oneness where none of us are lacking anything. So that's a place that lacks the spirit of death. Because death is anything that cuts off the flow of life, of the natural order of the Creator. So the bottom line is, as we violated that law of nature and put our desire for pleasure above his natural order, it cut off the flow of life. Thus, death entered this world. So death is not the Creator's creation. It's not his creation. So anything that cuts off the flow of life, and as I've said in the past, death is an abomination to the Creator. Okay, so the bottom line is what we have not understood in our flesh. We keep looking at these things and the things that men have told us, but we haven't understood things by the Spirit. This is why we must be born again. Because, see, in our flesh, we can't keep the natural order of the Creator because in our flesh, we're in opposition to his natural order. See, the scripture says what? The carnal man is not subject to the laws. See, the laws of the Creator, the natural order of the Creator. The flesh ain't subject to that. It can't be. Because it's enmity against the perfect will of the spirit of his divine love that makes us all one. It ain't possible for us in our flesh because our flesh is what? It's one with the serpent, which is the spirit of pride that separates us from the divine love and understanding of our Creator. So we live in a nature that's in opposition to the spirit of his divine love. So what is that spirit? It's a spirit of self-hatred. Because without the spirit of his divine love, we hate ourselves by our nature. Okay? That's something we have to be delivered from, family. And it's only the spirit of the divine love of our Creator that can do that. What is that? It's the spirit of Christ. As I said, man, Christ means Savior because Christ is the spirit of our Creator. So in other words, only the Creator in his spirit can put us in the natural order of creation. Our minds have to be renewed. Our minds have to understand and see what our Creator sees. He has to see ourselves through his eyes, the eyes of his divine love that makes us all one with him, ultimately each other, our fellow creatures, and Mother Earth, and who he brought us all forth from. What is this? This is nature. So in order for us to come into submission to the oneness of creation, we have to receive the mind of our Creator. It's the only way, family. We don't have no strength in the strength that we have in of ourselves. At best, we operate under the spirit of self-hatred. And guess what? As long as we operate in a spirit of self-hatred, guess what? We can't love ourselves then. So if we can't love ourselves, family, how are we going to love others? We all going to stay slaves to the desires of our flesh, which ultimately do what? Lead to our own destruction, because it continues to keep us violating the natural laws or the natural order of our creation, of our Creator. So guess what it does? It causes us to destroy ourselves as we disobey Him. See, we destroying ourselves. He's not destroying us. We destroying ourselves. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Because if we break His natural laws, family, we can't do nothing but reap more corruption. If we sow to the spirit of death, then we can only look forward to obtaining death. This is why we got to be born again. This is why we got to be born of His Spirit. This is why we got to receive the Spirit of Christ. Because as I said, Christ means Creator. That's what it means. So without His Spirit, family, we headed for our own destruction. And because man was allowed to have dominion over this earth for this season, okay, because it was never meant for us to rule the Father's creation eternally. Never, family. What the hell sense that make? We can't control ourselves and we don't understand ourselves, and we think the Father wants us to rule His creation. Only He has the right to rule His creation. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to be blunt. It's the stupidity of our pride to make our dumb ass believe that we supposed to rule over others. That shit is sick and insane. It is what it is, family. See, because under the spirit of death, we insane. We freaking insane. Because to be against the natural order of our Creator is insanity. Because pride makes us insane. It just does, family. That's a reality. So in order to receive our right mind, to be freed from the spirits of darkness which come from the spirit of our pride, family, this is why we must receive the spirit of His divine love, which is the Spirit of Christ, that makes us one with nature. To see ourselves as a part of nature, not continue to see ourselves as separated from nature. Because to be separated from nature is the very thing to make us believe that we're supposed to rule and control nature. It's just freaking stupid. How can a created being that has no understanding of self think it's his right and it's his right to rule the Father's creation? Family, that's just straight up madness and sickness and insanity. And that's what the freaking devil is, and that's what we are, as we in our flesh is one mind with that sucker, because he is the spirit of our pride. And how can a child of the Most High be okay with settling for this crap? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it is what it is, family. We got to understand the urgency of the hour that we in, family, and our need to be delivered from these lies in this freaking world. Like I said, family, people talking about you trying to avoid hell. Family, we living in freaking hell, because hell is any place that's separated from the divine love and understanding of the Creator to give us our right mind, family. That's what this death is. It said death and hell would be cast into the lake of fire. Yeah, because this is the process of our creation, and this is His permissive will, and this is what He had to allow for us to truly be birthed in the Spirit, for Him to prove the investment of His love in us, that those who truly do love Him, that's born of His Spirit, that we will love Him and seek and search after Him, no matter what it costs us, no matter how hard it gets, all these things. Because the reality is, those of us who endure the process is those who's going to inherit the kingdom. Period. Because he said, those who endure to the end, the same shall be saved. Yeah, come into our inheritance to be delivered from the darkness of the world so we can take our rightful place in the divine kingdom of our Creator. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, family, we got to understand the ultimate sin against the Creator is as we continue to sin against nature. Because it's as we continue to sin against nature, this is why we can't keep none of the commandments. Because these are the commandments of the flesh. So if the flesh is in opposition to the Creator, so no wonder we can't keep the laws. Because until we're born of the Spirit and become one with nature, we can't keep those laws, family. Ain't none of us in our own flesh, in our own strength, which is in our flesh, ain't none of us keeping these laws. None of us. It's a scripture that says if you break one, you're guilty of the whole thing. So where that put us? See what I'm saying? Religion causes us to justify our spiritual condition. And the bottom line is there's no justification for our spiritual condition being in ignorance. Ain't none. Ain't none. Ain't none. You know, it's a saying, ignorance is bliss. Yeah, because our flesh is ignorant, so we live in the bliss of being caught up in the pleasure of this world. So we just go on ignoring the reality that we headed for our own destruction, and that we don't even consider where our eternal souls is headed. Because all we about in our flesh is that we about pleasing our soul. But the bottom line is we being run in our flesh, we run by our souls. We not run by the Spirit. But as we receive the Spirit of our Creator, then the Spirit dictate to the soul. And then as the soul lines up with the Spirit, the body got to fall in line. So as we stop sinning against nature, then we also begin to be healthy. And everything else that's wrong with our condition in this condition will be corrected. So the bottom line is, family, our spiritual life and condition and everything. And this is why I say the most important thing to us right now, we should be desiring to be born in His Spirit, to receive our spiritual minds, and to be at peace with the divine will of our Creator, so that we can receive our deliverance, our healing, and everything else we need to be delivered from the darkness of this world. So the bottom line is we got to understand, family, anything that cuts off the flow of life is sin against nature. And that's sin against our Creator. This is why we gotta desire to be delivered from this darkness. We got to be honest enough with ourselves to realize the reality that without the mind of Creator, excuse me, without the mind of the Creator, we can't submit to His will. So we can't stop sinning against Him. Because in our flesh, it's in opposition to Him. But through the Spirit of Christ. And we saw a demonstration of that. As I said, you know, I'm just going to throw this thought out there because I'm going to eventually do a video on this. I'm just throw this thought out there. See, it's through the Spirit of Christ, or our Creator, that I believe that the Son existed. I do. I mean, and it makes sense. Him being the firstborn of many brethren and all that, it makes sense to me. You know what I'm saying? Now, I understand that He came to this world. The Father spoke to us through Him many times. Yet He showed us how to have a relationship and dialogue with the Father. I understand the reality that, you know, that He came into this world. He overcame death as He walked in the light of the Spirit. I believe that, you know, I believe until I see otherwise, but I believe that the Father rose him from the dead, made a way for us ultimately to become everything he became after he rose from the dead. I believe that by his Spirit. I don't believe that by the testimony of no man. I believe that by his Spirit. Okay? I understand because of his example, him being and how he was the firstborn of many brethren. I get that because he opened us the door for us to be born of the Spirit. Okay? Now, I don't believe that his shed blood was our redemption. I believe that was the doctrine of a murderer. And for people that choose to be unaccountable for themselves, that's a way for them to justify being unaccountable. That's what I believe that shed blood doctrine does. It's a doctrine of unaccountability, and it's a doctrine that justifies murder of the innocent. That's what I believe. Okay, now, I say all that to say this, you know, I don't know what his name was. See, I don't believe that the name of the Son is relevant because I was not there. He did not introduce himself to me as Jesus. He didn't introduce himself to me as Yahusha or Yeshua or Yahushai, and none of the names that people put out there that they say that that's the Son's name. Because I don't believe the Son's name is relevant. I believe the Father's name is relevant. And in reality, if we be honest with ourselves, none of us know the Father's name based on the Father himself telling us. We don't know that because all these names that we claim as the Father's name was told to us by somebody else. So how do we know for sure based on but other than what somebody else then told us the Father's name? So the bottom line is what I'm saying, family, is that only by the Spirit of the Father is that truth going to be revealed to you. His absolute truth. So I believe that starting with being honest with yourself is the beginning of your salvation process. Because when you be honest with yourself, you're being honest before the Father. Because you can't hide from him. So family, all we truly know in our flesh is what somebody told us. But what you know spiritually is what the Creator himself has revealed to you. That's what we should be moved by. That's what we should be living by. And that's this time of deliverance or refreshing or whatever you want to call it. This is what the Father is doing in each of us. But he's doing those who's seeking him for themselves. This is the importance of why I continue to say, you got to seek the Creator for yourself. Because if you don't, you're going by hearsay and you're going to be led to your own destruction. Period. And as I said, one of the ways that we can know, that's a foolproof know, that way to know that we're hearing from our Father, the Creator, guess what? Whatever he's telling us and teaching us, we can know it's him. That it causes us to walk in a spirit of divine love where we no longer violate the laws of nature. Because to violate the laws of nature is to violate his natural laws. It ain't got nothing to do with no man. It don't lift up no man. It lifts him up. That's how we can know whether what we're receiving is we receiving it in spirit and in truth. It lifts up our Creator. And it makes us one with him. It makes us one in nature. It ultimately will make us one with each other and our fellow creatures and Mother Earth and who he brought us all forth from. Because in reality, sin against nature is to break the flow of life that causes anything that breaks up the oneness of creation and nature in the spirit of his divine love, that's sin against the Creator. Until we stop sinning against our Creator, we'll never stop sinning against each other. It's really that simple. So this is why we need to be born of his spirit. We need to receive the mind of the Spirit and the oneness of his love that causes us to understand ourselves first, because if we don't understand ourselves, family, first, we can't overcome the limitations of our flesh that makes us ignorant, that makes us selfish, that makes us deify our desires of the flesh and all these things, that keep us separated from his divine love, because it causes us to cut off the flow of life. Because when we walk in darkness, we walking in the spirit of death. And when we walking in the spirit of death, what are we doing? Cutting off the natural flow and order of life, which which is the absolute love of our Creator, because the Creator is life. So the bottom line is what? If we walk in a way that cuts off the natural flow or order of nature, guess what? We walking in the spirit of death. And the more we walk in the spirit of death, we of death reap more corruption, which causes us what? Ultimately to walk on a path where ultimately our own wickedness is going to correct us. So, what I'm saying, family, is this. You got to seek the Creator for yourself to find his will, his purpose for your life. So, because until you understand that, you'll never line up with his divine will and the spirit of his divine love for your life. That's going to put you in your place so that you can serve him in spirit and in truth. And again, I'm saying you, family, but when I say you, I'm speaking to myself too. You know, what I'm saying is, the bottom line is, hey, it's the same for all of us. Yeah, we're all unique, and we got a divine purpose, and he made us that. He put gifts and talents and different abilities in each of us for the purpose of serving him as we serve one another in the spirit of divine love. That's what the kingdom is about. That's what the kingdom of heaven is about, family, and that's where we're headed. Those who truly do love him and seek and search after him as he charged us, because that's our responsibility right now as he take us through this process of being born again. It's our responsibility to seek and search out the perfect will of our Creator for ourselves. As I said, he will never tell us to do nothing that's going to cause us to violate his divine order. That's how we can know it's him, because it don't lift up no man, it lifts him up. That keeps us all in our place. So, with that said, family, I think that's about all I got. But we got to understand, family, the ultimate sin, it ain't against each other. We sin against each other because we sin against our Creator, because we don't understand ourselves under the spirit of his divine love. So we keep trying to do this thing in our own strength. And it ain't nothing but a lie, because family, in our flesh, we can't do right by our Creator. We can't. It ain't possible. You know, we wired opposite. In our flesh, we are opposite of the divine will of our Creator. So the only hope we got is to be born again. And we have to seek and search after our greater portion of his spirit each and every day and throughout the day, so that we can receive his mind, so we can come in agreement with his will for our lives, which will ultimately cause us to walk in the spirit of divine love, the divine love toward one another, thus manifesting the kingdom of heaven. So, with that said, until next time, I pray and hope that the Most High will keep you and watch out over and bless you in every way. And I hope I said something to give you something to consider. And as I say, family, please, 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 please seek the Creator for yourself, because it's the only way that you're going to come into his divine purpose for your life and come into that place where you can serve him in spirit and truth as you truly be yourself in him. So with that said, till next time, I'll say one love and peace.